Hey everybody, so today we're going to talk about styli. And yes, that is the correct way to say it. It is styli, not styluses. But we're going to talk about the stylus that I would recommend of any of these, and also a little bit about each one. Please bear in mind this is about my experience on the Supernote, so it may vary depending on the device you have. We will not be talking about the MobiScribe Wave stylus because I'll wait and talk about that when we get to the Wave review. I do want to talk about these styli, both a mix of the Supernote stylus line and also one third-party stylus, just to give some context and to let you know what I see as the pros and cons and why I would choose one over the other. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so here we are with the Supernote and a blank canvas, and we are going to put all of these out. And you'll see there are quite a few. Two of these are very similar, but I do want to talk about them individually. This is the LAMY Vista, and this is the newest one that came out with the release of the Manta, but it's really part of the crystal clear thinking set that Supernote is doing in conjunction with LAMY and the crystal edition of the A5X2. This is the LAMY Safari Twin, which I've talked about a little bit already as well. And the Safari Twin gives you the added benefit of having a ceramic nib on one side and a regular ballpoint pen on the other. Just make sure you remember which is which. But this is really good in my estimation for specific use cases. But we'll talk more about that here in a minute. Then, before we get to the actual Supernote pens, let's talk about the Stadler Digital Jumbo. So this particular pen is one that I want to like a lot, and we'll talk about both why I do like it and why I don't. But this is a cost-effective third-party pen that does work on a Wacom EMR, and it does have an eraser. Then we will look at the Supernote pens. This is the original Heart of Metal pen. This was the first pen that I ever got with my A5X when I purchased the device, and it looks a little bit different from the last two that we will show. This is your standard Heart of Metal 2, so it's the second generation of the Heart of Metal pen. These are more expensive than the push-up pen, which I do not have in this lineup, but this is more expensive than the push-up pen, but less expensive than this last one, which is still a Heart of Metal 2 pen. This is the Samurai, so you'll see it's kind of a brushed metal, and it's a little bit different, but it's the same technology, same overall design. It just has that brushed metal experience. So let's talk about the crystal. So again, this is the LAMY Vista pen, and we'll do a little bit of writing on each of these just to kind of get something here. So this is example of with Vista. And it writes very well. This is an extremely comfortable pen to hold. If you do hold your pen very close to the nib, which I do not, I tend to hold my pen back a little bit further. But if you hold it close like this, you can get extremely detailed and really fine. So it's a very comfortable experience. Again, a lot of this has to do with what your preferences. So you can do a little bit, finer tip. And then of course you take your gesture, but it works really, really well and writes extremely efficiently. It's a very nice pen. Price tag on this pen though is $89 for the all plastic construction. And I know there is some metal here and on the clip. I think $89 is a lot of money for this pen, but we'll talk about that as we compare each one. Next, we're going to move on to the Norris Digital Jumbo. And this pen is actually going for $38.92 over on Amazon right now, and there is an affiliate link available if you would like to support the channel. It doesn't cost you any extra, but if you use my links, it does give a little bit of a commission back to the channel. This is running for $38.92, so that's a good value for a pen. It's actually cheaper than the standard push-up pen that Supernote has. But you are making some compromises. You are not getting a ceramic nib. This is a rubber nib. Primarily, the reason I have this nib is because I'm not sure that the palm nibs, I am going to try one of those, which is kind of a harder plastic nib that doesn't spin as easily, but it's not as fine of a point. If you look at the fine tip on the ceramic pens, this is much more comparable. Problem is that it does not give you a very satisfying experience. Now, all of your gestures work. So, here is an example of Norris. And then we can switch over to our other pen, digital jumbo. It just really feels like a rubber surface. There's no friction at all. There's no real enjoyment in writing. It does work. I mean, it's very responsive. The eraser is a nice touch to have. It's extremely responsive on this, and it feels like you're actually erasing on a pad of paper. It's probably one of the nicest touches on this, so I feel like I'm using an eraser. It's really cool, and it works as a stroke. I don't believe it does. Yeah, it won't do the lasso erase, so you still have to use your gesture for that. But for a quick in the moment, here we go. And now I want that gone. It's that fast. I mean, it really works well. And again, it's less friction. It's one of those things that makes the writing experience easier. So Norris Digital Jumbo. It's extremely lightweight. It feels like a pencil. They've specifically structured it and given you that feel as if you're using a wooden pencil. And I think that is, if it had the right nib, if you could get a collaboration between Norris and Supernote to do a ceramic nib, that would be fantastic. Quite frankly, would be a really interesting pen. And maybe at some point we'll mod this or we'll find someone who has modded this and we'll give that a try, because I do think that would be a unique experience. It's not a boring stylus. It's a very nice feel and texture and inexpensive. The idea that this is under $40 and has that level of complexity, feel, fit in the hand is really, really nice. This is the LAMY Safari Twin. This writes very similar to the Safari or to the Vista, but it does feel a little bit more premium, even though it's still plastic. And it has that separation, which for me is really good. I don't like to hold my pen all the way down to the nib, so I'm looking for a specific feel. And I think this delivers on that. It also writes very well. Here is an example of the Safari Twin. Now you are going to hear that little bit of click and tap. I think that's just because of the way I write, but that does happen. And then the nice thing about this pen, and again, it works extremely well. It's snappy. There's no latency. All your EMR pens are going to work really well that way. The nice thing about this is the fact that if you turn it the other way, you now have a ballpoint pen. And that isn't for everybody. And please be careful not to write on these screens with a ballpoint pen. That could really cause an issue. But for me, the nice part of having that is I am so often now without a ballpoint pen because of the fact that I use this. This is my note taker. This is primarily what I have. If I'm in a space and someone says, hey, I need you to sign this, I'm having to ask for a pen. So having something like this to flip over and be able to just sign something and then go back and now I have my stylus again is extremely convenient. So for a working professional that needs both of those use cases, this can be a great pen. Does it feel quite as good as the LAMY Vista? No, I don't think so. It's still very light. It's got a little bit more distance between the nib, which I do like, but it's not quite as flowing as you're getting from the Vista pen. And I don't know why that is. I don't know what the difference is in that. I think it may be because the overall ergonomics of this pen are just a little bit better. This is not as well defined. This is a little bit deeper of an indentation all the way around, although they're similar. I think that probably makes that difference. It is going to be hands down better than the digital jumbo, primarily because of that nib. So next, we're going to jump into uh, the Heart of Metal pens. And most of you know that these are some of my favorite pens when using the Supernote. I'm going to show you first the Heart of Metal 1. Now, the Heart of Metal 1, you can't buy it anymore, so this cannot be the number one as far as something you can purchase. If it could be, it would be. I'll just say that out front. This has a very good balance to it. If you give it a little twist when you go to put the cap on, that cap is not coming off. And what's nice about it is it's got this little bit of grip on the end here, these little slices, and the weighting of this pen is phenomenal. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. It fits really well in your hand. And then when you go to write with it, it's very, very nice. An example of writing with HOM1. This is a phenomenal pen. Absolutely love it. Can't say enough about it. It's metal construction. It's they did the engraving back then. They still do the engraving, but it's also got Supernote engraved around the side here. It's got just enough flair to it to be pretty yet businesslike. Just absolutely love it. The nib is exactly where it should be. This little bit of tactile feeling here gives you a really good grip on the pen and allows you to, again, have a little bit of distance between you and the nib. So that's the HOM1. And it would, as I mentioned, be the pen for me. And it is. It's kind of my go-to pen. But you can't purchase it except aftermarket. But if you can get your hands on one, I would suggest that because you will absolutely love it. So the Safari Twin, let's just jump back to it really quick, is also $89. So both of the LAMY Styli are $89. And with one, you're getting both a pen and a ceramic nib. So it's important to note that. This pen, which is your current Heart of Metal 2 pen, which I do like a lot. This is one of my favorite pens. And primarily because it still kind of stays true in some respects to the original Heart of Metal, but it improves on a few things. The cap kind of fits a little more snugly, seated a little easier by going through and pushing on this indentation. It does have a little bit longer back to it. Very similar construction here. The biggest difference being they went to this cartridge now instead of a longer ceramic nib with what looked like an empty ink canister inside for the Heart of Metal 1. Matter of fact, I'll show that real quick so you can see it. So if you pull apart the Heart of Metal 1, you're going to see that you have this design. So much more like a traditional pen. So it's a little bit different in design. And I actually think that's a real improvement to the design because there could be, although there hasn't been with my original Heart of Metal, I could see there being more of an issue with that maybe getting dislodged or breaking or having a real problem. Whereas this one is all self-contained. And then the pen is basically just a shell on top of that, but a very elegant pen. And, here, this is an example. I can write tonight, writing with the HOM2. Very nice. Works very well. Very good pen. This particular pen and most of the regular colors are $75. More expensive than the push-up pen. The push-up standard pen is $59. This is $75, but still less expensive than LAMY Vista or the LAMY Safari Twin. Now, the exception to this is going to be this pen here, and this is the Samurai. Of the newer pens, this is the one I carry probably most often. If I'm not carrying this pen, I'm carrying this one. And primarily because this is just a beautiful pen. It's brushed metallic. It's all metal, just like the Heart of Metal pen is, but there's no paint here. That's just a brushed metal finish. Absolutely gorgeous. Still the same writing experience, So, this is an example of writing with the HOM samurai. And it just works. Absolutely love this pen. Is it worth the extra $14? Yeah, I would say yes, because of the fact that you're not going to have to deal with paint peeling off. I don't have that issue anyway. I take very good care of my pens, but I understand that sometimes and in some use cases, you really have this issue where this gets scuffed or scratched and you have the paint coming off. I've seen a lot of that on the HOM ones and twos, but this pen right here is 3.5, almost 4 years old and still looks brand new because I take care of it. And I'm not in that situation where it's going to become scuffed or anything like that. So how would I rank these? And I think that's what, this whole video has been about. From a pure value perspective, I'll do this two ways. One is by pure value and potential. And I don't usually say buy, I almost always say don't buy things for what they promise to be. And that applies here. If the writing feel is extremely important to you and you want that ceramic feel on a Supernote, or if you're using another device where that's not as important, this is a great value. It's less than $40. It has a back eraser, has all of the same functionality of every pen here. It's a Wacom EMR stylus, and it has a fine tip on it. Again, the feel for me is just a little lackluster because it's just hard. I have trouble with it. But the feel of the pen itself is excellent. And for under $40, it's a no-brainer. And having that eraser that is that responsive is just really cool and precise. So for value, for just sheer value, this is the clear winner. For overall stylus, this is not. For me, since it can't be the HOM1, which is now out, I would say your second best bang for your buck and also all around wonderful stylus is going to be the Heart of Metal 2 in whatever color you would like. This you are not going to be disappointed in. You can get it in various colors from red to green to blue, all kinds of different colors. And it's less expensive than any of the other three options. So if you're looking for a dedicated stylus and you're looking for one that is going to do the job, do it well, and not set you back a lot of money comparatively. I mean, you buy a nice pen, it's going to cost you a good amount of money. Same with a stylus. This would be my top choice for a premium stylus to go with this device. If you have the extra $14 and want an all metal device or all metal stylus that is not going to show as many scuff marks, you don't have to worry about paint coming off, this would be what I would choose. If you're in that $89 range, I would say that this is the best pen by far because you get all of the benefits of this, which is $75 for this pen that is absolutely gorgeous. Just absolutely well constructed and works extremely well. Next, if you're still, now we're staying in this $89 range, I would say the Twin Safari would be my next. I don't think with it being all plastic, it's quite worth $89 except for this idea. You're getting that dual functionality of it being both a pen and a stylus. That does give it a little bit of an advantage over any of the other pens we've talked about because it's an all-in-one. It reduces that amount of friction that you're going to have when you're working. Oh, you need me to sign a document? Oh, yeah, here, let me do that. Now I need to remember to turn it back over so that my stylus is there. But that is a huge value add. And then, of course, last on the list, and this, other than this not having a ceramic nib, which keeps it from not being one I would recommend for someone who needs that writing feel, this is a phenomenal pen. I do not want to say it's not because it is, but I don't feel it's worth $89. I feel it's very hard to justify either of these for that $89 price tag, except for the fact that this one is both a pen and a stylus. This, however, if you are buying someone the Crystal Clear Thinking Edition gift set of the Nomad, this is a no-brainer. This was made to go with that device and with that set. I could highly recommend that. If that's what you're doing and you're buying this as something for someone to have as kind of that gift set, that really flashy piece of tech, this is phenomenal. I don't think it really goes so much with the A5X2, and not just the pen loop issues that we've seen, but just the fact that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me with this device. These are much better options for that. Now, again, ceramic nib, do a collaboration, Supernote, Norris, get together. I would love to see that. But those are my rankings. So let's jump back over and close out this discussion. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I don't do a lot of videos like this where I talk about different styli or things of that nature, but people have been asking me, what stylus do you use? I talk about the heart of metal, but I don't really go into detail and I don't show it against other ones. You're not going to go wrong in any stylus you choose as long as you try it out first and it fits your needs. If you like it, if you like the way it feels, if you like the way it writes, you're golden. It's going to be great. For me, the Heart of Metal 1 is my favorite. The Heart of Metal 2 is a very close second. And I love the Norris Digital Jumbo if it just had a ceramic tip. Once you write with that ceramic tip, it's very hard. It's very difficult to go back and write with any other kind of stylus. I can't explain it other than you've seen me and others talk about it. And it's an amazing writing experience. And it's specifically amazing on the Supernote because of that self-recovery film. You truly feel like you are writing on a bed of paper. Like if you are a legal pad person or a notebook person, you're going to feel like you're writing on that stack of paper and you'll feel that indention as you write with the ceramic tip. It just is what it is. It's absolutely glorious. It's absolutely awesome. Well, thank you again. Please like, subscribe. Feel free to check out my links below to all of these styli. Any link you click on is an affiliate link. I get a little bit of a commission out of that, but I don't get, there's no extra cost to you. Anytime you use my links, it helps the channel. It helps me be able to create content. It helps me be able to uh, bring you more advice and more things. So please feel free to do that. You'll also see my patrons scrolling. Uh, Thank you to those in the top tier, all of my paid members, and thank you to everyone who's a free member on the site. You're completely valued, and I appreciate your input more than I can say. But until next time, stay safe and keep on moving forward. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.